Good morning. I'm doing a tribute this morning to the late EDDY. The gentleman, I can't find an obituary, so I'm doing this ad hoc. He died, I seen it late last night, and so he died, I assume, on Tuesday, election day. That election was enough to kill any good liberal, but somebody told me, how do you get rid of the Tories? And this wise gentleman said, you elect them, because they're so bad they get defeated for a long time. So there'll be a lot of them defeated in the next 3.5 years. Very weak government. Anyhow, a tribute to EDDY, a gentleman. And he was a gentleman. And his wife, Mary, late wife, Mary, who died a number of years ago, she was a wonderful lady. I remember them coming to my store, buying garden, specifically strawberry plants. They came in one morning, had such joy there was strawberry plants, and they were going to plant strawberry plants. And his wife, Mary, was a gushy from Trackety, what was the Maddie farm for generations, late great saintly Jimmy Maddie. The original old wooden farmhouse on the site was the home that Eddie DeYoung's wife, late wife, had been born in, DeYoung. Eddie DeYoung's wife was a gushy from Trackety. And she takes in the lovely Acadian community of Trackety. That they were farmers. So he got this attractive young lady. Speaking of attractive young lady, there's a hill in Linwood where there's so many. He has a very large family. Some of them are predeceased, at least one son, and his had so many beautiful daughters that there's a hill in Linwood along the between East Trackety and Linwood Harbour, going along on the west side of Linwood Harbour, heading towards East Trackety. So many beautiful daughters, they call it the DeYoung Hill. So he was a fortunate Eddie DeYoung of Cape Jack, Antigonish County. Antigonish County was very fortunate to get the gushy lady from Trackety, and of course their daughters' maiden names were all DeYoungs, and many fortunate fellows got his beautiful daughters, and it's DeYoung Hill. So I had to put that plug in. And the reason I'm wearing a hard hat is construction. He was only a small guy, but my God, he was a remarkable man. There was a write-up on him Aaron Beswick did in the Halifax Herald, and that would have been on the 60th anniversary of the Council Causeway, which the 70th anniversary is coming up this August, so time flies. And he was driving a uke coming down what is now Martin Marietta, of the Cape Porcupine, and bringing these big loads of rock. It wasn't gravel, it was rock and rubble. And they said, well, the brakes weren't too good, and it was cold in it. And I think the brakes were probably okay, obviously, but we wouldn't be here. But there was cold. In those days, the ukes didn't have much heat in them. And he said, well, I was 23 years old. I had a young family with lots of mouths to feed, so you did what you had to do. But that was one of the quotes I remember in Aaron Beswick's wonderful article he had in the Halifax Herald. And remarkable man. I visited him many times. He after his wife died, he stayed at home for a number of years. Really probably should have been at home the rest of his life, because he was in fine form. But he was the Highcrest home on Hillcrest Street, Antigonish. And visited him many, many times. I regret not getting to see him in Guysborough, as recently he's been at the Milford Haven home in Guysborough. Nice picture of him I seen last night. He still was in fine form. He must have just died of old age, because he was a remarkable. Anyway, I remember one day me and Peter were there, and he was talking about coal. I don't know how coal come up. And Peter used to go to, father would send him up to William Bowman to Inverness to get coal. And he said, we truckload of coal to bunk the wood furnace in the basement in the wintertime, the cold winters. And Eddie said, we burnt coal too. And I used to get, now that he's gone, I can say this. He said coal trains before the Council Causeway used to come in through Mulgrave to Fair and stop there, or go into Frankville before they went on with steel and other stuff that was going up. And empty boxcars come back that brought groceries and consumer goods in. Had work. So anyway, when the coal sat in the siding, he said sometime, wink, wink, we'd go and steal the coal. and put it burlap bags or something, brand bags, they called them those days. And he said, and he sat on the side of his bed, and he said, we burnt coal. And he said, sometimes they'd take some off the top of the train on the siding, the hopper cars, the coal. But he said, the stuff I paid for burnt better. And I can never forget that comment. Okay, now he's up in heaven. He said, the stuff that I bought and paid for burnt better. I'll never forget that comment. But he was such a gentleman, wonderful fellow. I go back, he planted a garden every year. This is how people lived. They were very resourceful. And the whole family grew up in the lovely Harbour Bushy area, Canadian community of Cape Jack. And they take, and very large family. One of the guys fished, and the whole family is very accomplished. But now we'll say a prayer for Eddie, a wonderful gentleman. Say, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And give us today our daily bread. And forgive us our trespasses, as those trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. And he was a pleasure to know. He was just a good guy. You couldn't help but like the guy. And his late wife, Mary, had come in with him, and they were just wonderful people. They're just wonderful people. And I give my condolences to his daughters and surviving sons and in-laws, outlaws, and grandkids and great-grandkids. They're probably up to 3 or 4 generations now, because Eddie was 96. He would have been 97 had he lived till July. You know, his birthday's in July, so he would have been 97. So he was de facto the oldest man, I'm pretty certain. We have a lady that's going to be 101 in Cape Jack on the 13th of December. I believe he's the oldest man from Harbour Bushy at 96. So, remarkable man. We know he's up in heaven now. This Christmas he's reunited with his wonderful wife Mary, and they'll be in heaven in the presence of God for all eternity from this date forward. Thank you. All the best. God bless. Good morning.